So we've been talking about things that lead to an excess that sort of overwhelm the system and overwhelm the brain. So eventually the brain shuts down and begins to have Alzheimer's disease, for lack of a better way to put it. We're going to be talking in the next few points about things that happen because the brain isn't having enough of what it needs to function. For example, inactivity. That's I guess that's a fifth I now. Inactivity. And there are two different kinds of inactivity. There's a physical inactivity and then there's the mental inactivity. The physical inactivity is probably better known. The body needs movement. The brain needs movement. In fact, some scientists say that probably the reason why we have such great, really big brains is so we can perform complex motions, complex, multifaceted forms of movement, like for instance, this fine finger movements that we can use to, stitch or knit or whatever. That's the first thing that comes to mind. But also fine motions. Nothing comes to mind now. But we need the large brains for motion. My point being this: motion is critical to adequate brain function, adequate body function. And when you're not moving like you should, as regularly as you should, things begin to falter and things eventually begin to die off. So it's really important. Physical kind of movement, obviously, moving from place to place, muscular movements. In fact, what they're finding out now is that, especially as you grow older, past your 50s, past your 60s, people who don't do things that have to do with straining their muscles. I don't want to say weightlifting particularly, because you can do body weight training and resistance training and things like that. That put a strain on your muscles. They are finding out that when you do that on a regular basis, your muscles produce certain chemicals that are extremely beneficial for brain function, for memory, and for learning. Why is it that sometimes, in fact, they've done these studies in several schools, and school districts, where they make physical education compulsory. So the kids have to go out and play during the break time rather than just sit down and play video games or whatever on their phones. And they come back in, and they've tested them over a period of time that those who on a mandatory basis go out and play, and they come back in, they tend to do better in their test scores and in the academics. So, and that also applies in life as well. As you're active, whether it's aerobic exercise, anaerobic exercise, weight training, and so on, they find out that those do better when it comes to brain function, tests of brain function. It tends to have a protective effect on the brain and body. All right, you can read more about that in our Dementia's Dirty Dozen handbook. Also, when it comes to intellectual inactivity, they're saying there's a correlation between having gone to school, maybe for the 12 years, 16 years and higher, that those tend to be more protected than those who do not go to school or who are illiterate. And I think that goes again back to the whole use it or lose it thing. The brain is an avid knowledge seeker. The brain is always seeking to grow, always seeking to adapt, to change. And that adaptation, that change is crucial for its health and benefits. The picture that comes to me is a tree in a forest surrounded by other trees. You find that the root system goes deep and the root systems begin to intertwine, and they all strengthen each other so to keep each other from falling, as opposed to those who have a root system that is not intertwined, or they're isolated. Maybe it's just that one lone tree in a big patch of ground, for instance. There are no other trees to interact with and to strengthen root systems with. That tree tends to, when the storm comes, obviously that tree is more likely to fall as opposed to that tree that is surrounded by its compatriots or comrades. Those other trees will support each other. So that's the way I look at it when it comes to that's the way I look at it when it comes to intellectual activity. Just learning stuff, whether it's music, whether it's writing, whether it's a new language, it tends to create more connections between brain cells. And as we get into it, you find out that connections, or in the case of the brain, synapses are the key to a healthy brain and the key to protection against things like Alzheimer's disease, because Alzheimer's disease specifically targets the synapses, those connections between brain cells. And so the more connections you're able to make between the synapses, the more likely you're going to have a protection against brain damage from Alzheimer's disease. All right, so that's kind of like went along on this one, but we're going to go into the next topic. And again, I'm not going to tell you what that is, because right now I'm not sure. I'm not going to tell you what that is, so you just have to check in and stay tuned for our next video, which is on the Dementia's Dirty Dozen. That will be number 6 on Dementia's Dirty Dozen. All right, see you soon. So if you like this video on the Dementia's Dirty Dozen, please click on the link below. And don't forget to click on the like button and the subscribe button and also the bell button so you'll be notified of future videos. Thanks.